You've been told your whole life to embrace your light, to become the best version of yourself, to strive for success, happiness, and positive transformation. But what if true power doesn't come from embracing the good parts of you? What if it comes from facing the darkest parts, the parts you've been taught to ignore or suppress? In this video, we're going to explore Carl Jung's Shadow Theory, a powerful and uncomfortable concept that will force you to look at yourself in a way you never have before. And the truth it reveals isn't pretty. You are the monster you refuse to face. You might be thinking, I'm not a monster. I'm not evil. But that's the point. The shadow is not about being outwardly malicious or villainous. It's about the parts of yourself that you've repressed, the emotions, impulses, and desires that you refuse to acknowledge. This is where real power lies. In confronting and integrating your shadow, instead of running from it. 1. What is the shadow? First, let's understand what Jung meant by the shadow. The shadow is the repressed or unconscious part of your personality. It consists of everything about you that your conscious mind refuses to accept. It's made up of all the traits, desires, and impulses that society, religion, or your upbringing has taught you to suppress. The shadow doesn't just hold your bad traits. It holds your repressed desires, your untapped power, and your unacknowledged potential. When you deny these parts of yourself, they don't disappear. They get buried, hidden, but they continue to influence your behavior. Jung's core idea was that the shadow is not something separate from you. It's a part of you. And unless you integrate it, unless you accept it as part of your whole self, you'll always be a fragmented person, powerless, disconnected, and forever running from the truth. But here's the catch. You can't integrate the shadow by simply acknowledging it. You have to face it. You have to own it. You have to become it. 2. The consequences of rejecting the shadow. Now, you might be thinking, I don't need to be evil or dark to be a good person. But Jung wasn't saying that you need to become a villain. He was saying that repression itself is what makes you weak. When you reject your shadow, you create a disconnect between your conscious self and your unconscious mind. This leads to internal conflict, which drains your energy, leads to stress, and manifests in self-sabotage. You constantly battle against yourself, and this inner war prevents you from reaching your full potential. Think about it. The things you avoid confronting, the things you're afraid to acknowledge, control you. Your anger, your envy, your fear, these things don't go away when you push them down. They show up in your life in ways you can't control. They appear in your relationships, in your career, and even in your health. And here's the most uncomfortable truth. The more you suppress your shadow, the more it rules you from the shadows. The monsters you refuse to face will eventually take over. And you'll become the very thing you fear. 3. The power of the shadow. Embrace what you've repressed. So, how do you embrace the shadow? It's not about becoming a monster or giving in to every dark impulse. It's about accepting those parts of yourself and integrating them into your personality. The key to integration is awareness. You need to recognize the shadow's influence in your life. You need to see where you're lying to yourself, where you're denying your true desires, and where you're acting out of fear or guilt. Once you're aware of your shadow, you can own it. You can make peace with it. You can channel your repressed traits in healthy ways. Anger, for example, can become the fuel for assertiveness and action. Envy can transform into the drive to improve yourself, rather than tear others down. Here's a powerful idea from Jung. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. This means accepting the dark as well as the light. The shadow is a part of you, and denying it only keeps you fragmented. Integrating the shadow means that you accept your flaws, your weaknesses, and your darker instincts, but you don't let them control you. You own them and then transcend them. 4. The shadow in relationships. Why you project. Now, let's bring the shadow theory into relationships. One of the most profound ways the shadow operates is in how we project onto others. You've probably experienced moments where you're angry or jealous of someone for no clear reason. Or maybe you've seen someone act irrationally and thought, "Why are they so obsessed with me?" What's happening in those moments is that your shadow is being projected onto someone else. You're seeing your own darkness in them. And this is often unconscious. You blame others for the very traits you can't accept in yourself. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." What if that irritation, that anger, that judgment, is really a reflection of the shadow within you? By projecting your shadow onto others, you create a cycle of conflict and self-deception. But when you own your projections, when you take responsibility for the dark parts of yourself, you stop blaming others. You stop seeing the monster in others and instead see it in yourself. This is the path to true self-awareness and self-mastery. 5. The ultimate transformation, becoming whole. Now, here's the question. What happens when you integrate your shadow? What happens when you stop running from your darkness and start using it as a source of power? The answer is transformation. By embracing the shadow, you become whole. You stop being divided, conflicted, and weak. You unite your light and darkness, and you become an authentic individual who isn't afraid of their own power. You begin to move with strength. You stop seeking validation, you stop fearing rejection, and you stop being controlled by your unconscious desires. Instead, you become the master of your own destiny, no longer enslaved by your fears or repressed desires. Jung believed that true freedom comes from integrating the shadow. When you accept yourself completely, with all your flaws and contradictions, you transcend them. You stop being a victim of your inner conflict and start becoming the powerful force you were always meant to be. You've heard the truth. Now ask yourself, what part of you have you been running from? What part of yourself have you repressed? Let's talk in the comments. And if this video helped you face your own shadow, share it with someone who's still hiding from theirs.